So England's starting lineup. They started with Raheem Sterling on the left wing and Phil Foden on the right. Makes perfect sense. Foden is left-footed, and Southgate wanted him to make these sorts of runs so he'd pull wide and be able to come into his left foot, and that's how Foden got his shot early in the first half that came off the post. Raheem Sterling is selected, I think, because they recognised the space against Croatia that England could actually utilise is going to be in this area behind the fullback, round about here, and it's also going to be just in behind the centre-back. So as Croatia push up, they're going to be quite compact. They want to play with them through their midfield because that's where their strength is. So the rest of the space is going to be in behind. Now, of all the players in the England team, the ones most likely to make use of that are going to be Raheem Sterling, because he's lightning fast. He can come off from these wide areas into this sort of area here. He can take players on the outside, but it means that when you're progressing play, because you don't really want to get in a battle with the Croatian midfield because it's so good, you can pretty much hit these long balls as Mings did early in the game and throughout, I should say. Sterling can make these runs onto the ball and take the team forward instantly. And that's something England were looking to do. So they did this, to do this, they made sure they kept their defensive shape, largely the centre-backs, protected by Rice, and the full-back stayed mostly quite close together. They didn't really leave themselves too open. Stones occasionally stepped forward. Trippier, quite reliable, can push into midfield and help defend any counter-attacks. Croatia didn't really offer anything. They didn't have much pace or anything. Now, asking whether they can play, why you play Sterling rather than Jack Grealish, because Jack Grealish, he's so lovely. He's very skillful. Grealish tends to come short to receive the ball. So if Mings is going to make that run in behind, Grealish is not your guy to get onto the end of that. He's quick enough, you can accelerate, you can dribble past players, but he's more likely to come from the outside left into here and get the ball to feet and then turn and go. By the time you do that, Croatia can just fall back, block a space, and then it's even harder to kind of find any room to do anything with the ball. You play Sterling, you can make that out to in run, like we said before, or you can just get him in behind the fullback and isolate the fullback that way. That's something you can do. Mount is going to play always as this, I think, is this kind of 8. But he floats around depending where other players are. So he often takes up positions that are left unoccupied by teammates in the right position. And the way that England have done that and the way they use Sterling, well, in fact, let's look at the goal. Let's look at how Sterling scored that goal. That's quite important. Walker gets on the ball. Now, the crucial parts of this, and quite impressive with England, was Calvin Phillips. He makes this lovely run into this area here, right between Kovacic and the centre-backs and the left-back, and Walker finds him with this. It's a really good pass. The left-back misses his interception, Phillips is now in. The only way they're able to do this is because Foden pulls wide. So the right winger, left-footed, remember, you want to get him in the half spaces. To facilitate that run of Phillips, Foden comes wide. Phillips is in here. Kane has come over from his centre forward position. He drags these two lads over. And secretly, in the shadows, our hero, Raheem Sterling, he has already moved into this position here, sort of like a false 9 now. So he was out wide. Because he's gone there, Mason Mount, who's really tactically clever, goes out to cover him on the left wing. So again, you're maintaining your width from Foden and Mount. And that's what Mount's very good at. He's both an 8, a midfielder, but he's also a left winger in this situation here. So the positional flexibility is hugely important, and the rotations are important for how this move works. Sterling is in here, and straight away now, he's basically a striker. So Kane's come out wide, Phillips comes inside here, and Sterling makes this run in behind, the ball slips through, and he scores. And that's the kind of thing that Sterling does for Manchester City even. He's a left winger a lot of the time, but really he's a striker. And you didn't have like the fullback overlapping, like if it was Luke Shaw or something like that, because they're trying to keep their defensive shape to ensure no mishaps happened at the back. So to maintain their width, Mount's moving out from the 8th position out to the wide left position to give them the width to stretch it, and that's why Versalco's sort of here, which means Sterling comes through the middle here, and that's how England scored. So if you had Grealish, he may very well have done something similar, but again, Grealish is a playmaker, not a striker, and Raheem Sterling is essentially a striker. And to exploit the space and where Southgate knew it would be against his Croatian team, Sterling was the absolute perfect choice. You might find against Scotland, who will play a bit deeper, Scotland in 5-4-1, the names are all wrong, the Scottish names are slightly different, but if you put a Mick at the start of all of these, maybe that'll work. So what you're gonna have to find is against Scotland, have all of the ball, all the possession, and you get into these areas here where everything is blocked. Now, Sterling does this for Manchester City. He's able to get in behind these sort of situations here, so the ball can get in behind maybe, and then you can look for that Pro Evo cutback goal where you get into this area here. But if the defence drops so deep that you can't make use of the space, maybe a better option in this situation is not to have Sterling, and that's where you put Jack Grealish in. Because Grealish can make magical things happen with the ball at his feet. He wins free kicks, he's one of the most fouled players in the universe. Grealish comes in here, he can create as basically a 10. He's a playmaker, not a striker. He's not going to look to get in behind that much. He does do it sometimes for Aston Villa, but he gives you something a little bit different. Might be able to spot a pass rather than get in behind. Sterling's not the guy who gives you the final pass, he's the guy who gets onto it. So against Scotland, you might find Jack Grealish because he's better in tight spaces, and there's going to be less space in behind, which is what Raheem Sterling's exceptional at making use of. So that's probably why you'll find Grealish in the team. Might not. Yeah, so you can play Grealish, Mount and Foden in the same team, but you have to take one of them out probably to put Sterling in if you want to. But it's all about getting the right players to play against the right teams rather than just picking who your best players are sometimes. It's quite, tactical. And that's what I think Gareth Southgate did.